How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Absolute PlayStation Steam Gamers. I'm Coda, that's Shank, and we're going to talk about how we don't really own our games anymore. With the onslaught of cloud gaming, as well as just generally buying our games off of online market stores and stuff, we're less and less in possession of the games that we have. So we're going to kind of discuss that and give our thoughts. Shank, what's your opinion?
It's complicated because before, let's go back to yesteryears, PS1, Xbox, original
Mm,
Xbox. You buy a game, you buy the disc of it, you put that game in, and it runs for you. You're not installing anything.
mm-hmm.
There's no need for a server to go up.
Can I just say real quick? I'm amazed that you went yesteryears with PS1, and my brain went Atari.
I mean, yeah, we could do Atari. The point still stands.
Yeah,
You bought a physical copy, you put it in, it required no internet connection whatsoever.
right.
You owned the game. There is no debating whether or not you own the game.
Mm-hmm.
Issue now, I think, is that so many games are developed with this always online access built into how the game functions
Mm-hmm.
that you get to a point where if the company doesn't continue to support the game and the servers the game is on, then there is no game to play. So do you really ever own that game?
Right. Uh, for instance, whenever the Wii store closed down, a bunch of games that people had access to no longer were games that they had. Like, for instance, you say you bought a game from the Wii store, and you delete it at one point to make space. Well, Wii stores closed. You can no longer re-download that game that you paid for. So essentially, Nintendo took away your right to be able to own that game. Whereas if you had that game as a physical copy, you would still
You'd
have it.
still,
Yeah,
yeah, you'd still be able to
and
play the game.
and there are plenty of games like that are download only, so there isn't a physical copy to take possession of.
Right. I really don't like this. We've had discussions previously on this channel about this, and let me just preface by saying, just because I was giving an explanation for why it's a thing now doesn't mean I agree with it.
Right.
You purchase the game needs to be available, like for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand if you shut down the Wii store. Before you shut down the Wii store, there should be a way to link your Wii store account to the Switch
Mm-hmm.
so that you can download that game on the Switch.
Right. I mean, then you run into API problems where they have to make the Switch work for the Wii, but that's kind of Nintendo's problem to fix.
Right. Like I guess that's one of those issues where like and it's less of an issue when you think of something like PlayStation, Xbox,
Mm-hmm.
because they've had I mean, yeah, the controllers get slightly better from generation to generation,
Right.
but it's basically the same inputs.
Mm-hmm.
The Wii is unique in its controllers were at the time very innovative.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't anything like it. They've improved on those controllers now, if you take out the drifting issue that obviously some people are having. Those controls are better, I would say, than the Wii controllers. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. It's for the drift.
So, subtracting the drift out. So, I guess Nintendo's in a bit of a bind, but it's a bind that they painted themselves into.
Right. And,
The
I
point
mean,
being, go ahead.
Nintendo's just the most apparent example of this because they're one of the companies that fully shut down a store. Uh, I mean, this could happen also. Like, for instance, we have most of our games on PC through Steam, for instance. Well, what happens if in the future Steam goes bankrupt? or their server caches get destroyed or something. All that info, all of our games and whatnot, those aren't, you can't launch those games without Steam. Like,
Right.
you download the game and then it's like launched through Steam. So if Steam goes away, all your games go away. The same can happen if Microsoft went away and all your Xbox Live games go away. Um, this
And that's
wasn't
the
a
big
thing.
concern.
Yeah.
That's the big concern is that basically uh, with this new DRM model, you don't actually own anything you buy.
Hmm.
Even though you can play it whenever you want right now, you don't own it whenever the next console comes out.
Right.
Now, I think Xbox and PlayStation have said they're going to work on backwards compatibility being a thing
Right.
moving forward, but I think they need to make it more of a central focus issue.
Hmm.
I shouldn't have to buy the same game for, especially if we're talking like an older version of the game. If I wanted to buy the original Final Fantasy VII and I bought it originally for what, PlayStation 2,
Hmm.
then I have to rebuy it on the PlayStation 4 store when it comes out.
Hmm.
Now, are you telling me I have to rebuy it on PlayStation 5? Or
Right.
should Sony keep track of the fact that I gave them that $8 when it was on sale and now allow me to play it
Right.
on my PS5?
Uh, with Google Stadia, with cloud gaming in general, but I'm going to use Stadia as an example. Um, it's same boat. You buy the game, but now you don't even have the data of the game, right? Like you're streaming it. So let's say I bought Assassin's Creed off of Stadia, and Google realizes finally that Stadia was a terrible idea, and they closed down those servers. Well, now I don't even have my copy of Assassin's Creed, like the data to even use. At least with the Steam example, Steam could maybe set out a new patch or something to their API that makes it to where it unlocks your games while their servers are destroyed, so you don't have to play through the that link or something. But with cloud gaming, that's not a thing. Those servers get destroyed. That's it for your game.
Yeah. Um, and I think that's why it's comforting to see big name companies get into gaming, even though like it kind of takes away from the uh, the individuality of the game development process. I don't think Microsoft's going to shut down.
Right.
I don't think Sony's going to shut down, but they did shut down most of their movie department.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my point being, if Sony's in this, if Microsoft's in this, if I'm essentially renting my games from them,
Mm-hmm.
at least I know that if I still have my PS4 and PS4 is still online,
Right.
which there was news a couple months ago about PS3, PS Vita, and PSP stores going offline.
Mm-hmm.
So this exact thing was happening.
Right.
Um,
And PS3s aren't even. I mean, they're old, but they're not that old yet. Where like
no,
people
they're
still use
well,
those.
right. I still have mine lying around here somewhere. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't use it,
Right.
but it's it. The point is it would be
We're not
nice if they
those
kept
people, but there are those people.
right. It would just be nice if those stores were kept at least up to date so
Mm-hmm.
that if you wanted to re-download the games that you already bought on those consoles. I get with something like we talked about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't know why I keep going back to Final Fantasy VII. I feel
Because
like
it's
it's
a
just
fun game.
it's an easy example to go back to, but the remake is on 4 and you have to purchase it on 5,
Right. Which is lame.
which is lame.
Yeah.
But I think that's because what did they do? They unlocked the graphics.
So they did was essentially a button press for them,
They
and
unlocked the frame rate.
they gave you access to the DLC.
Yeah. Um I guess that right there answers the question of do you own your game or not? Do you
Mm-hmm.
own they own the rights to the game. They can put it on whatever console they want.
Right.
I guess to close out, do you think they will start bringing back physical copies? And do you think it matters if they have physical copies of games if the games still require online access? Because 20 years down the road, they're not going to be providing access to those games, regardless of if you have the disc or not.
Uh, yeah, that was one of the thoughts I had was, I this is why I actually buy most of my games still physical, if I can. Uh, sim- Not just because I like to have like a collection, I like to get the collector's edition mail cases and all that, but also just because I like to have the game. Um, and with some games, like if Xbox had gone their way with the preventing you from like putting a lock on your game, basically, uh, that might have ruined also physical media. But luckily, I think physical media is the reason why it's stayed around for as long as it has in the age of digital is simply because we do like ownership of what we have. Um, that's why there's still physical movies. You know, you
Uh, that's a perfect segue because I was just about to say I have a Disney Plus subscription.
mhm,
I still buy every MCU movie that comes out
yeah,
because 50 years in the future, I want to be able to pull out a Blu-ray player and throw that movie in my nuclear bunker somewhere and be able to enjoy
hmm,
the movie because the streaming service might not be around.
I still buy CDs for the same reason whenever I'm driving down like a country road or
Jesus
something.
Christ, Coda.
What? What?
That Spotify's like $7 and you get any song you
I know
want.
I have Spotify, right? But I also still buy CDs for in case that I'm at a point where I want to listen to music and I can't use my Spotify, like my phone's dead or something.
Yeah, I mean it's the same general concept. It's just such a '90s idea that it caught me off guard.
Well, you don't have a Walkman? Come on.
No, one of my friends has a Walkman. We are so far off topic right now. Let's bring this back in. Um, I just worry
Hmm.
because I feel like the way they're going to handle physical media is they're just going to essentially they're going to make it so the game has to be connected to the internet even if there's no like online functions.
Right. They're already doing that with some games where they're adding egregious online functions that don't even belong. Assassin's Creed. Um, but I think that the gamers, uh, just as a general like group, we have enough of a voice against that like they've tried to cut out physical media. They've tried going with diskless uh, consoles, and then there was a little bit of an outcry, and all of a sudden they have a disc reader in them again, or
Right.
they make two different versions. One's all digital, and the all digital ones tend to actually sell worse than the physical ones.
It's funny because as much as I'm against this whole thing, I actually prefer downloading my games. I'm more of a
Yeah,
minimalist. I don't like having a lot in my house, so I enjoy being able to download my games. It's just I I'm concerned about the long-term viability of that business model. I think it's going to end up biting gamers in the ass more than it is the
mhm,
companies because the companies can just resell us the same
right.
game 100 different times in 100 different ways.
I guess it's up to communities to be able to like keep the companies true to themselves on that because
Yeah.
we didn't do that for DLC. Uh, BioWare started selling us $5 horse armor, and now look at where DLC is taking us.
Yeah. Yeah. It worries me that we're not quite as united enough
Mm,
as of a community as we make it seem to be able to stop something like this.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. Anything else you wanted to add
No.
regarding this topic?
That I think pretty well covers our opinions is it's a little bit scary right now within the whole gaming sphere as far as rights ownerships and whatnot.
Yeah.
Let's know what you guys think about that in the comment section down below. What you think about if you even need to own your games. Maybe you feel like there's no point in you owning it. If the servers go down, you'll just move on to a different game. That's perfectly viable. A lot of games are on multiple services. So let us know.
This has been Shank and Coda with Absolutely PlayStation Steam Gamers. Stay tuned for all your latest gaming news, reviews, and discussions.